There have been violent protests outside CFMEU headquarters in the city today over mandatory vaccination. It comes after Victoria recorded another COVID-19 death and 567 new cases. That's the highest number of cases this year. The government is set to make a significant announcement in response to the violence. Nicole Asher joins us now for the latest. Nick, what can you tell us about this government announcement?
Thanks, Susie. Well, the ABC understands that there's going to be a 2-week shutdown of the construction industry. We're not yet sure exactly what that will entail, but reports are that it will be all projects except a few very vital projects forced to down tools. Now, we are expecting an announcement from the government at some point this evening. They've been in crisis talks with the unions and industry leaders during the day. And like you said, it all follows these very violent protests that broke out outside the CFMEU headquarters today. Bridget Rollison has the story.
What started somewhat peacefully soon turned ugly. The crowd pelted bottles and crates at the CFMEU headquarters. Some even threw punches at union heavyweights. They're accusing the union and boss John Setka of selling them out, with all workers required to have had their first vaccination by Friday or be banned from building sites.
I have never ever said I support mandatory vaccination. Never ever.
But Setka was unable to calm the crowd. Police moving in after protesters damaged the building, armed with beanbag guns and capsicum spray.
I reckon that there'd be a whole bunch of people who are at home because their industry's shut and they'd be scratching their heads about why anyone would be protesting about being open.
A day after the roadmap was revealed, the Premier was forced to explain why many Victorian businesses will stay closed long after New South Wales plans to open theirs.
When other states, like New South Wales in particular, are finding ways to get on with that quicker, is deeply concerning for me.
We will be able to watch and see what happens when they deliver the first part of their roadmap. I wish them well. Hopefully at the end of that we can say, OK, well, based on that, maybe we can bring things forward.
Victoria recorded 567 cases today, the highest number this year. None were in Geelong or the Surf Coast, which entered their first day of lockdown today, splitting places like Point Lonsdale in half. On one side of this road, residents are under stay-at-home orders.
I was pretty gutted, actually. When we came out of the last lockdown, I sort of thought that was going to be it.
While the road out of Melbourne's lockdown may be long, the state is receiving a new weapon. Around 300,000 Moderna vaccines will arrive over the next month, but we're being urged not to wait for a particular jab.
It sometimes can feel like in this pandemic that we're on a plane spiralling and plummeting towards the earth. And when I look under my seat for the life jacket, I'm not preferencing the red or the yellow one. I'm getting what's there.
The Moderna doses will be available at pharmacies this week. Bridget Rollison, ABC News, Melbourne.
Nicole Asher joins us again. Nick, those protests stretched into the afternoon. How did police respond?
That's right. So these protests, they started early in the morning and did continue all day. Police say that there were several arrests, but haven't put a definite number on just how many arrests yet, because they were still trying to disperse the protesters until quite late in the evening. Until at least recently, there were still protesters around the city. We do know that some of those people barricaded inside the CFMEU headquarters building have now left. And we're told from the union itself, John Setka, the leader, he says that he doesn't believe all those protesters were union members. He says that a minority were members of the union and beefed up by members of far-right activist groups as well as anti-vax groups. He's saying that, it's unfair to tar all unionists with the brush of what's been seen in the city today, Susie.
Nicole Asher, thank you. Professional Standards Police are investigating the pepper spraying of 2 people at anti-lockdown protests in Melbourne. Footage from Saturday's rally shows a police officer running into a photographer who was repeatedly yelling "media." A different officer then pepper sprays a photographer from The Age newspaper and a protester while she's on the ground. The Age is lodging a complaint with police.
Everyone has a right to go and work in a safe environment. I get that we could get hurt, I get that, but not not targeted like that.
Professional Standards Command is also investigating what happened to the woman. Police say it was a dynamic and hostile situation, making it difficult to distinguish between protesters and the media. Victoria's arts and entertainment industry says it's been overlooked and forgotten in the state's roadmap out of lockdown. The sector employs almost 200,000 people, and some say under the roadmap many theatres, cinemas and entertainment venues won't be able to reopen. Andrea Nierhoff reports.
Sitting on the sidelines isn't something Mike Snell is used to doing, and he's fed up with waiting for the government to come to the party.
Usually when it gets to gig season, your phone just rings, you book gigs, you book jobs, you're singing here, you're dancing there, and without the phone ringing, no money comes in, and yeah, I don't really feel supported at all by the government.
The government presented its roadmap for how the state will leave lockdown for good, but many, like Mike, say the spotlight has missed them. Retail can reopen once 70% of Victorians have had both jabs, but for outdoor trade only.
I think when you talk about outdoor, it's really a restaurant dining experience, which equally brings about problems. Certainly not a saviour for the retail industry.
Under the government's plan, at 70% fully vaccinated, pubs, clubs and entertainment venues can host up to 50 people outdoors. At 80%, 150 people could fill these seats. But for venues such as this one, which can host up to 1,000 people, that's just not worth it. What comes after the 5 steps outlined is also unclear.
Does it mean we'll be able to go straight to 500 people or to 1,000 people? Will there be other restrictions on it? I mean, we just don't know.
Our producers have lost faith in the government when they say, hey, we're going to close down, we're going to reopen. You've got to have that reopen stay.
The government says it won't let Victoria's arts and entertainment scene fade to black.
We have such a strong and vibrant sector. It's part of our identity, and they're very much front of mind when it comes to opening up.
But while the show will go on, who is left able to perform remains in doubt. Andrea Nierhoff, ABC News, Melbourne.
Let's take a quick look at Victoria's vaccination figures now. When it comes to first doses, 72% of eligible Victorians have had their first jab. Close to 44% are fully vaccinated. The state is averaging about 74,000 vaccinations a day.